So we're talking about factorizing algebraic expressions, and as we know, a factor is a number that divides a number to produce a whole number. Okay? So a number that, if you like, goes into multiple times into another number. So a factor of 10 is 2, because when you divide 10 by 2, that equals to 5. Right, so 10 divided by 2 equals to 5, hence 2 is a factor of 10. Or 5 is a factor of 10. Now, and we also have algebraic terms, and we have algebraic factors. So if an algebraic term divides another term evenly, then it is a factor. As in evenly, that it fits in, there's no decimals or anything like that. So, 10 GB, this term 10 GB has factors. 2, because 2 goes into 10. 5, because 5 goes into 10. 10, because 10 goes into 10. 30 all day. 2G, because 2 goes into 10 and there's a G there. So that's a factor of this. 2B, because again 2 goes into 10, there's B. 5G, 5B, etc. There's many others. So all these are factors, they fit inside or they go into this 10 GB even. Okay, so we use this idea about factors to factorize algebraic expressions. And it's an important tool because when you're later simplifying more complicated things like algebraic fractions, working with them in sort of longer problems, you can factorize something, then you see that there's other common factors with it, and they cancel out. It's a very nice way to deepen up and to simplify easily. It's an important thing that we need to be familiar with. We're going to do much more factorizing this year, quadratics, which are squared terms, and other expressions. Okay, so it's very important to understand what a factor is and how to factorize. Okay? So, like we did yesterday, expanding is when you remove brackets. Okay, you multiply with a factor at the front with each term inside the brackets. When we take out common factors from terms in an expression and insert brackets, because you need to, because you're taking it from both more than 2 terms, however many terms you have, it's called factorizing. Okay, so you're looking at the terms you have in your expression, and then you're taking out common factors out the front, putting brackets in, which is reversing what we did with expanding brackets. So when factorizing, the goal is to find the highest common factor. So we're all familiar with the term highest common factor. So the highest common factor is the largest number of terms that fits into the given terms that we have. Okay, so the highest common factor of 10 and 20 is what? Highest common factor of 10 and 20. 10. Highest common factor of 24 and 12. 12. Highest common factor of 24 and 15. 3. Did you say 8? 8 does not go to 15. Yeah, so 15 and 24, the highest common factor is 3. 3 divides 15 to 5. 3 divides 24 to 8. There's no other number higher that fits into both of them. That's the idea. Okay? So when factorizing, you find the highest common factor, you divide both terms by that factor, put that highest common factor out the front, and whatever is the product, whatever's left, if you like, for those 2 terms, go into the brackets. But again, like many things, explaining it in the best way to do it is to just show some examples and to have a look. So we need to take out the highest common factor from this. Now, another thing that we need to be mindful of is when it says factorize fully, when it says factorize something fully, it means it's asking you to do it totally. So you have to take out the highest common factor. So sometimes you'll say factorize, and you might not have to take out the highest common factor. Maybe you actually need to just take out a lower common factor that it absolutely does. Later we'll get into more of that when we're doing more sort of techniques and solving things. But when it says factorize fully, it means take out the highest common factor and make sure that it's completely factorized. There's nothing else that you can take out of both terms. That will be. Okay? So that's what that means. Right. So if we have 2 terms here, Okay, I'll give you just a moment to write that down and do the examples. So, here we have a look. 5x and 5, common factor. 5. Okay, 5 goes into both 5x and 5. So if you want to, again, we can write it like this, if that's helpful. 5x is 5 times x plus 5 times 1. I'm not going to do this very much. And so we take out the 5 from both, and what you're left with is an x and a 1. So it's x plus 1. Okay? No, that's right. Okay, you have to tell me what I can see that you've done the highest common factor. That's fine. Now the next one, number 2. What are some common factors of the two terms? Okay, by terms, remember you mean this and this one. 7y is the highest common factor. So you could have 7 is a common factor as well. What else is a common factor? 7 and y. Yes, it's 7 or y or 7 and y. Now, we have a look here. If I rewrite it, 7y times 2x minus 7y times 1 equals. What happens when I factorize? I bring the 7y to the front. So 7y, 2x minus 1. Okay? Any questions about what I've done here? Factorizing, you find the highest common factor. You can take this step if you want to, but you don't have to. And then you put it out the front and write it as whatever's left inside of each term. And you're being careful of the sign between it. Okay, so it's good to think sort of backwards. And it's also easy to check whether you've done it correctly. You can just check by re-expanding. If you expand it correctly and you get something different from the original, then you've obviously done something wrong with the factorial. It's been something that's been not quite right. So we're going to make sure that you do it correctly. Now, minus 6x squared minus 3xy. What's a common factor? What are some common factors? 3. 3 is a common factor, x is a common factor. What else? Yeah, minus 3x is the highest common factor. It's funny to say highest common factor because it's minus, but as in the number that would divide both of them in the best way, minus 3x. Because both of them are negative. So both are negative. So take out minus 3x. Okay? So what we end up with, if I divide minus 6x squared by minus 3x, what am I left with? Yeah, that's right, 2x. Yeah, positive 2x. So you don't have to write the positive, it's just 2x. And then, if I divide 3xy by 3x, what am I left with? Y, positive y. Now I'm going to write it like this, because that maybe will make it. Okay? So that when we factorize this, we're left with, you're going to bring the minus 3x out the front. With the first term, it's 2x plus y. The reason it's plus y because it has to be positive, because you've got a negative times a positive. So you must have one of these terms. The one left in the brackets is going to be a positive term. Yes? This one? So 7y times 2x is 14xy. Okay, so I've taken out the common factor of these two, and then I've got 7y, which is the common factor, and then what's left over? When I divide 14xy by 7y, I have 2x left. Yeah, so the portion is 2x. Because I'm trying to pull out the 7y to factor. trying to factorize this expression, which means I'm pulling out the common factor and putting what's left in the bracket. Have a look at the next one. So again, because we're trying to pull out the 7y, we take out the 7y, and 7y times 1 is equal to 7y. That's the way that I'm writing it out. You don't have to take this step. But also, if you get back to 7y, when you take out 7y, you have to multiply by minus 1. Minus 1 times 7y is equal to minus 7y. Okay? I'll do the last one, and then I can come around and help people as you work on it. What's the highest common factor of this one, right? Yeah, -3. So -3 times a, and again I'll do it like this, plus 3 times -3. And so that equals to minus 3a plus 3 brackets. Okay. So essentially that's what it is to factorize. Look at the 2 terms or 3 terms, or how many terms you have. Find the highest common factor of those terms. You pull out the highest common factor, and then whatever you have to multiply to get back to the original, you do that. Okay? So working on exercise 2.05, the question's on the board.